Thank you. Okay. Excellent, I can see numbers ticking up. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this afternoon's briefing webinar on the Offshore Wind Growth Partnership Development Grant competition. I'm just going to give a few more seconds to let people in the room. We were just slightly late getting started. It's great, numbers are still ticking up. Okay, I think I will kick off. So again, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining this afternoon. This is a webinar to go through the OWGP Development Grant competition that was launched last week. My name is Claire Canning and I am one of the programme managers for the Growth Partnership focusing on the grant funding programme. Today I'm joined by a couple of external speakers, companies that we've worked with through the grant funding programme, and we'll be hearing from them later on. So delighted to have Tamsin from Cask and Stuart from Senin. A little bit of housekeeping, this session will be recorded. So following the session, I will send out a copy of the slides and the link to the recording so you can have access to that. We will hopefully have time for a bit of Q&A at the end, so I would encourage you to use the Q&A function on Zoom, and we can try and come to those at the end. If for whatever reason, if we run out of time, I'll collate all the questions that come in and send out the Q&A. So without further ado, I will kick off. This is the agenda. So I'll be going through a little bit about the funding competition, a bit about the purpose of the call, scope, eligibility, and how you can get involved. And then I'll pass on to Stuart from Senin, who can give an overview of the company and the impact that OWGP support has provided, and then pass on to Tamsin, who can do the presentation from Cask. I'll then sort of follow up with a bit of do's and don'ts for the grant funding programme, and then we'll come to questions and close. So for anybody that's not familiar with the Growth Partnership, this is a programme that was established in 2019 following the offshore wind sector deal. It is essentially a long-term business transformation programme to help UK offshore wind supply chain companies to grow, to become more competitive and to increase their chances of winning work in the sector. So it was essentially established as a mechanism to help increase UK content in UK offshore wind projects. The funding comes from the Offshore Wind Industry Council, so that's essentially a forum of the developers building projects in UK waters. They're all putting money into a pot to fund the growth partnership, so to actively fund that supply chain growth. The programme itself is obviously funded privately by industry, but it is delivered by the Offshore Renewable Energy Catapult. So I'm a Catapult employee. I've been working at Catapult for 6 years, but for the last 3 to 4 years, my role has really been focused on delivering the growth partnership. In terms of the kind of key aims of OWGP, I mentioned about increasing UK content, but essentially it's really about helping to create jobs, help to increase exports, turnover, and IP embedded within the supply chain. And we do 2 key things in terms of delivering that support to companies. We do what we call business transformation, which is providing access to structured business support programs that help companies grow and address barriers to entry into the market or barriers to growth within the supply chain. And we also do grant funding, which is what I'm going to talk about today. And that programme it's got a sort of nominal budget of £100 million over 10 years to provide support through those 2 key streams. In terms of grant funding, we do 2 types of competitions. So we do development grants, which is what I'm going to cover today. Essentially, that's sort of larger scale grants that will help companies deliver a step change in growth. within the offshore wind sector. And then to complement that, we do smaller scale innovation grants for projects that are really targeted towards industry innovation priorities and that will help bring game-changing solutions into the sector. So far, we've awarded 75 projects, working with companies. I've only got room for a few of the logos there, but you can see, you know, the diversity and the range of companies that we're supporting. Some of them are very well known within the sector, some of them transitioning in from oil and gas and defence and aerospace and other sectors. So it's a real diverse portfolio of companies we're working with. As I mentioned, I'm the programme manager, and then we've got Tom Speedy, who is junior PM, who supports me on the project as well. I thought it'd be useful to put in a bit of information around the demographics of companies that we're working with and projects we're supporting. I would say that our portfolio is majority engineering and technology development companies, primarily operating in the O&M, operations and maintenance, or sort of engineering development phase. And I think that's probably quite reflective of UK capability within the offshore wind sector. We work with companies of any shape, any size, and any point in their journey in offshore wind. But within the programme that we've got onboarded at the moment, it tends to be kind of small companies of a smaller size, and potentially the ones that are needing that grant funding support to help springboard them into market. And I would say that when we do a bit of analysis around the primary sectors that companies are working in when they engage with OWGP, they're either already kind of active in offshore wind or working in kind of complementary adjacent sectors and looking to transition in. So I guess the key message with that slide is to sort of make companies aware. It doesn't matter if you're already in offshore wind, but if you've got ambition for growth and you're looking to enter into the market, potentially we've got something that can support. And then this is just a slide to highlight the kind of portfolio of business transformation programs that we have on offer to complement the grant funding side. We do three key support programs. The first is the Wind Expert Support Toolkit, which is a sort of entry-level program, sort of low intensity, providing access to specialist advice, market intelligence, and general insight into the offshore wind sector. So that's for companies of any shape, any size, and is very needs focused, addressing particular barriers to growth. It's a really popular program and it's open on a rolling basis, and we've got over 120 companies that are either on that program or have completed it. And we're constantly taking applications for that. So if you're interested, please do get in contact with my colleague Lynn, or I can make an introduction. We do the National Fit for Offshore Renewable Programme, which is a supply chain readiness programme. And so far we have 14 companies in the first cohort that are going through that at the moment, and are actually many coming to completion, achieving granted status. And at the sort of advanced, intense side of what we do is the Sharing and Growth Offshore Wind Programme that has been adapted from the Aerospace initiative. And that's really about embedding experts and proven approaches within the organisation to help drive organisational improvements and strategic growth. So that programme currently has 9 companies that are either already actively working their way through that programme or have already completed. That's a long-term business transformation programme. If you're interested in any of these programmes, we have information on the website, and I've got the contact details of the delivery leads there as well. So getting into the development grant competition, so this is a competition that's really focused around improving competitiveness of the supply chain companies in the sector and helping companies to increase capacity and capability. So really we're looking to help companies enable a step change in their growth within offshore wind. And when I say that, I mean, you know, we're looking to create jobs, we're looking to increase export opportunities, helping companies to increase their turnover, and helping to develop new products and services such that it will generate intellectual property. The scope for the competition is fairly open, and it covers both capital and operational expenditure. So if you're looking for investment in new equipment or new facilities, then we can consider applications for grants of that nature, and Tamsin from CASC will give an example of that later. Additionally, if you're looking to develop new processes, new techniques, or looking to bring new products and services into the market, again, we would consider applications of that nature as well. For this particular funding competition, the total pot is £2 million, and we can consider eligible project costs between 50k and 500k. So 500k is the maximum grant that we could award through this competition. And in terms of project duration, probably anything between 9 months and 24 months duration, so that we can start to see impact of those projects within the next sort of 3 to 5 years. I mentioned about the open scope for this competition. It's not targeted towards a particular industry challenge or innovation theme. We're quite open. We want to encourage as many applications across the sector and for companies looking to transition as we can. So I mentioned about investing in facilities, investing in new equipment that can help increase capacity or capability. If you're looking to implement or develop new operational processes that will help improve your competitiveness, that's something we would consider. Probably the bulk of applications we tend to get through from the competition is about technology development or looking at new products and services. Delighted to look at any applications for products, technologies and services, but I would say that we're looking for applications of that nature for technologies that are either near to market or ready to be commercialised, and we just need that funding from OWGP to push it in the right direction. We're looking to fund activity that's going to generate impact across those business growth metrics that I mentioned. And because our programme runs to 2030, we have to start seeing that growth within the next few years. So we're not able to fund projects that are very early stage research or concept level. We're looking for those that are kind of ready to bring to market. And really any other activity that's going to help grow your business and lead to growth within the sector. In terms of eligibility, I'm sorry, this is a really busy slide and I'm not going to cover it in detail because all of the information is online in the scope and guidance document, but probably just a couple of things to highlight. This is a national UK initiative, so in terms of like basic eligibility, you just need to be a registered UK business of any size. You're either already delivering in offshore wind or you've got ambition or intent to develop your business in offshore wind. You can't be a current grant recipient through a funding competition that's been launched in the last 12 months from OWGP. So if you've already received a grant in the last year through the last development grant competition in May of 2022 or the November 2022 innovation grant competition, you would not be eligible to apply for a grant in this round. In terms of resubmissions, we're happy to look at resubmissions, providing that this is the only resubmit once and that any feedback that was provided from the last round of assessment has been taken into account to improve the application. If you have already received 3 or more OWGP funding awards, then you would not be eligible to apply for this round. This year, the way that our funding has come through from our OWIC funders, we are cash constrained, and so we are looking to fund new companies. So if you have received 3 or more awards in this particular competition, you would not be eligible to apply due to our own funding limitations. And really, you know, we're looking for intent to grow the business. We're looking for projects that are going to increase GVA, and we're looking for projects that will be able to provide a match contribution either in cash or in kind. So I've sort of put an example there that the cash or in kind investment needs to be at least 50% of the total project budget. But we will provide grants of up to £500,000. I will say as well that projects should not already have started. So we're looking for applicants that applications for projects that have a really distinct scope that is unlikely to take place without OWGP intervention. So yeah, we're looking to see the additionality of what OWGP funding brings. We're also really, because of the limitations we have on funding coming through over the next year or so, we're keen to see applications from companies that would consider repaying the grant back to Offshore Wind Growth Partnership, such that we could reinvest it into future support programs if there is, you know, any commercial success or any key tangible outputs as a result of the project taking place. This is not a condition of the funding, it's just something that we were open to, and we would welcome applicants to let us know if that's something they would be interested in. Again, more information on the scope and guidance document, but if there's anything unclear, any questions, I'm happy to answer in the chat. Project team, we're really supportive of collaborative projects, especially, you know, bringing in key delivery partners that can help maximise outputs. You know, if you're, in terms of partners, we would consider other UK-based businesses, potential clients for the deliverables. So if you've got any industry sponsor or customer that's interested in taking part, we would welcome that. Any kind of academic institution or RTO that has access to facilities and expertise that can help deliver the project. We are very supportive of this. Because this is a UK programme, and you know, we want to see the benefits happening in the UK, and the key beneficiary to be UK businesses, our preference is to only fund UK companies as part of a consortium. We may consider overseas delivery partner if there is a particular requirement for a specific capability or expertise or facility that doesn't currently exist in the UK. We're open to this. It's just something that we need to clearly provide justification in your application if you are looking at a delivery partner outside of the UK. In terms of how the contracting would work, we would contract with the lead organisation only, and any project partners would be classed as subcontractors to the lead organisation. In terms of the application, development grant competition it's a fairly lengthy process. It has a two-stage application process, really to enable us to determine companies that are eligible kind of early in the process and prevent drawing things out for companies that are not suitable. Also managing the volume of applications, so we tend to get quite a lot of stage one applications through, and we want to make sure we're taking the best high quality proposals through to the next round. We want to make applicants aware of the outcome as early as possible, so breaking it into stages makes that a little bit easier, and it also allows us to select the most appropriate assessors based on the scope of the proposals that are being submitted to us. So only the successful stage one applicants will be invited to submit a stage two application. The deadline for stage one expression of interest is Friday the 21st of July. And it's not a particularly onerous stage one application, I would say. We just want to really get a sense of what the business is about, what the project is looking to do, what challenge does it solve, and what's the additionality and impact that OWGP funding would have. We will review all the stage one applications and notify applicants by September, the beginning of September, of the decision. And you should also get quite detailed feedback along with that application as well. At that point, any applicants that we will take to stage two will receive a business plan template to complete and then submit to us by unlucky Friday 13th of October. That should say 2023, not 2022. And at that point, only the successful stage one applicants will continue with the funding process at this point. The process for applying, everything is available from the OWGP website. If you go into the link there on the grant funding side, there's a very detailed scoping guidance document that I recommend that you download and read quite thoroughly before starting the form. It's an online application form using Microsoft Forms, which isn't ideal, and it's something that we're updating for the next round of funding that will hopefully be an automated, easier, more efficient process. But until now, Microsoft Forms is the process that we're using. Until then, we'll be using Microsoft Forms. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the functionality to allow you to enter information, to save it, and then go back to it. So we strongly recommend that you draft your responses separately. All of the questions and the formatting of the questions can be found in the scope and guidance document. So I would sort of recommend that you draft responses separately and then just paste them into the application form when you're ready to submit. You'll also be able to save a PDF copy of your responses after the submission. And the questions are a blend of text responses, numerical and drop-down responses as well. This is that shows the sections of the application question and the assessment weighting on each section. So we've got 6 sections in total with 52 questions. I would say a big chunk of those questions are in that contact detail and company information, so they're not assessed. The next section is really about understanding the background to the business and ambition for growth in offshore wind. So I mentioned we're keen to work with companies that might already be supplying into the sector, but also companies that might not already be, but really well suited to delivering. So they might have a product, service, or a technology that's easily transferable, but just needs a little bit of funding to bring it into the making it suitable for offshore wind application. So we want to understand, why is your business suitable for offshore wind? What's the ambition for growth? What's the strategy that you have for the offshore wind sector? The section 3 is really about understanding the challenge and the market opportunity. So we want applicants to really demonstrate a clear understanding and motivation for this project, such that there's a really clear challenge that's being solved, there's a problem that's being addressed, and the applicant has a really good understanding of this. Applicants should also think about how the market is changing and developing, and the structure and dynamics of that, and how this project will lead to a sustainable solution. The next section is really about the project and how it's going to generate growth. So we're looking for you to tell us what this project is about, what's it going to do, what are the kind of key milestones and activities taking place, and how is this going to address the challenge that has been identified in the previous section. We're also quite keen to understand, how are you going to ensure the project is successful? So how are you going to have effective delivery and achieve the outputs? What are the project management processes that you're going to use? What tools and things are you going to have at your disposal to make sure that this is a project is as successful as it can be? Section 5 is about project finances and costs. We are really keen to make sure that we're delivering value for money whenever we issue a grant to companies. So we want to understand what the total project budget is and how this is broken down into different categories. So, kind of staff costs, labour costs, materials, equipment, subcontracting. So at the point of you submitting your application, you really need to know what your budget is and how this is going to be defrayed across the project. And we need to understand what an explanation or justification for how you've come to that project budget. As I mentioned, this is going to be used to determine value for money. So really good explanation and evidence for project costs is key. In terms of impact and additionality, this is quite a high weighting because the measure of success of OWGP is the impact it has on business growth. So we want to make sure that we're funding projects that are really going to deliver that, and we have the confidence that they're going to deliver that. So We want to understand, as a result of this grant and this project taking place, what the impact will be on the KPIs, so jobs, turnover, IP and exports. If there's any other additional impact or benefit as a result of the project taking place, like, please do let us know. And please provide, really clear justification for how you have arrived at those figures and how this project is going to generate impact, because that's the real key to the project being granted an award. Any specific questions around that, if anything's not clear, again, I'm happy to take those at the end. And this is just sort of reiterating some of those timescales I mentioned before. The stage 1 application is due in at the sort of towards the end of July, and you'll be notified on or before the 1st of September. Something to bear in mind is that we're looking for projects to start on or before the 1st of February. So if you get round to the second stage, you'll be notified on or before the 24th of November if your project is successful, and then we expect, after Christmas, coming back with being ready for the sort of signing of the contract and project management plan in place and match funding in place as well. So that project is ready to be kicked off early 2024. This is just the process for submission. We would ask that prior to submitting an application, just make sure you're registered on our website. And I've got the link there. That just keeps you on our list. And if we do have any sort of further opportunities, whether it's funding or business transformation, you're on our mailing list and we can contact you directly. Next stage is to draft your responses and then paste them into the Microsoft application form that you can find in the scope and guidance document, and then submit that to us. And you will receive a automated email acknowledgement to confirm that your application has been received. So in terms of the assessment and delivery, I'm not going to go into this in any detail because I've covered it already, but I mentioned that we use independent assessors as part of the process. So it will be applications will be reviewed internally and with independent assessors. For stage 2 business plans, those are ultimately reviewed by our board of directors, and they make the ultimate award decision on projects that we that are successful. So we use independent assessors as appropriate as well. In terms of responsibility for successful applicants, all pretty pretty intuitive. We ask for an internal champion to manage that arrangement with OWGP, so a dedicated project manager, making sure that there's enough internal resource to manage that project, to deliver the results, being open to publicity and being ready to start project on or before 1st of Feb. Funding will be in the form of a grant and paid on all eligible project costs net of VAT. Do's and don'ts. There's more information online, so I'm not going to go into these in any particular detail because I've covered a lot of them already, but do please just check that you are eligible before submitting an application, or get in touch with us to double check if you're uncertain. And please make sure that your project costs fall within the range for this competition. So anything between 50k to 500k in terms of grant. Please make sure all project finances are correct across the different budget lines. Make sure everything adds up, because if it doesn't, it can be very frustrating and involve a lot of back and forth. Do let us know if you're open to repayment option, but this is not essential. And if you are anticipating any changes within the business, any changes during to the company, company name, website rebranding, anything like that, just keep us informed. KPI alignment, very important. Please do put reasonable figures in there and along with justification, and demonstrate very clear market understanding and how you're going to generate commercial success. Any opportunity to provide quantitative information is much appreciated as well. A lot of this is sort of repeated, but yeah, we're looking for applications to be discrete projects with tangible outputs. So we won't be funding any business as usual activity. We need a defined scope. And we need clear evidence that this is additional to any kind of business as usual activity. I mentioned about costs and providing detailed breakdown of costs. So please do make sure that these all add up, that they haven't been rounded up or just finger in the air, that you have actually looked at how this project is going to be broken down and what all the cost categories look like, and provide justification wherever possible. At stage 1, no need to submit any additional material or appendices. There'll be an opportunity to send any supporting information and documents with your stage 2 business case. This is really just to check eligibility. Overseas partners, just make sure you notify us in advance if you are looking at any non-UK businesses. We will, we're open to it, providing there's justification. And I mentioned about the KPIs and just making sure that those are reasonable figures. Conscious of time, and I wanted to make sure that our external speakers, who have been waiting very patiently, have enough time to present. And so I'm really, really delighted to pass on to our first company, Senin, who we have been working with for a number of years now, I think since OWGP started in 2019. They're doing fantastic things in offshore wind and have grown significantly. And so I thought it'd be useful for the audience to hear about what Senin's doing, how they've grown and how they've benefited from OWGP funding. So passing on to Stuart.
Hello, Thank you, Claire. Hello, everyone. My name is Stu Pringle, and as Claire mentioned, I'm a business development consultant at Senin. I've had the privilege to work alongside the core team at Senin since February 2020. So as Claire mentions, that pretty much overlaps with the time that OWGP have been involved as well. So I've seen at close quarters, firsthand, the real life impact that it's had at Senin, which is why I said there's been a little bit of help from our friends in the title here. So what I thought I'd do is just for those who don't know Senin, is just do a very, very brief background about the business and then talk about the OWGP impact more specifically. So if we can roll on one. So Senin is a UK-based technology company that started actually as a consultancy project in London Array. So if you cast your mind back to 2016, London Array Limited had just taken on the operations of the site. And it was at the time the largest and most complex operating wind farm in the world. It still is one of the biggest and certainly one of the most complex. And what was happening, in short, was that the old ways of working were coming up against the new challenges of scale and trying to plan on spreadsheet when there were perhaps 200 contractors out on site and in a very tidal estuary, lots of things going on, just wasn't very efficient. So Senin actually started as one person coming in as a consultant to try and fix some of those problems. It's very rapidly built up trust with the team and went on to solve some more challenges that they were having around streamlining and improving operations for a safe system of work. So over time, if we go to the next slide, we spent a lot of time on site at the control room and really got under the skin of what was happening. And at the beating heart of what Senin is now is that we can automate and streamline that whole process of setting to work, building that daily plan and pulling in all the lovely data feeds that the offshore wind farm would already have, from weather to met ocean, to balance of plant, to work orders, to qualifications, etc., take all of that out of manual processes and make it much more of a slick digital interface that then can be pushed out to everyone on site and create a very high performing wind farm. So these are, and excuse the slight squiffy formatting, but such are the joys of Google Slides into PowerPoint swiftly on a Thursday morning. But these are now what the Senin software is. So what is Senin? It's a software company. They've got various modules for set to work, med ocean, marine control, reporting health and safety incidents, managing inductions, and also looking into downtime and lost production allocation. And we've built all that up to run not just on one wind farm, but can also be across several wind farms with one installation, because of course that's where the industry has gone. So that's what Senin is in terms of how it started and where it's got to today. In terms of its UI, I just thought I'd show just a few seconds here because we've built a really beautiful user interface. And the key difference with us and everyone else is that we can have everything coming in, be it what vessel you're on, what's the current SCADA from the turbines, what are the work orders, who's working on what, who's on which location. You don't have to bounce around different systems. You can do it all, if you're in the control room, inside the one interface, which creates massive efficiencies and safe system of work. Anyway, I'm not here to pitch Senin, so let's move on. If you go to the next slide, which again is a little bit wobbly, but the content's about right. When I first made this slide a couple of years ago, I used to have it in massive font because we didn't have many sites. And now it's getting almost, I have to have 2 slides because we're on so many different wind farms. So we've gone from being a one-man consultancy business with support with OWGP to rolling out not just on London Array with all of our modules, but we also won the global contract with EDF Renewables. And I'll talk about that in a bit more detail in a moment. So you can see we've been on Teesside and Blythe, and most recently Saint-Nazaire, which is a very, very large wind farm. Also, before we move, Claire, big reveal. Thanks to the work we've been done with OWGP, we have won a new client, and we will be announcing it at London Global Offshore Wind on the 14th of June. And part of what they are doing with us directly relates to the projects that we've had from OWGP. That client win would not have been possible without Claire and team. Simple as. We've won another client in early 2024 that I'm also not allowed to talk about, which is really annoying. And again, they're taking the products that have been developed with OWGP funding. And of course, the EDF machine rolls on as well. So we've gone from one site to several clients to several sites, and we're now on our way to 5 gigawatts of offshore wind. So the business is scaling up very rapidly. We've also hired. So it's not just a one-man band of Paul on his own. We've now got Paul and Gabby as co-founders and a whole team that we can see now, hopefully, if the slide is coming across, of a lot of these lovely people here. And I know that the founders are incredibly proud of everyone that they've hired. It really is an excellent company to be a part of. So there you go. We are growing people, we're growing revenue. It's all happening. But what have OWGP done? Well, we didn't do it on our own. So I was thinking about how do I segue in the Senin story into OWGP? So I was like, well, I better go back to the website and just see what it's all about. Because I speak to Claire all the time, but I never go to your website. And actually, bang, that mission statement on the homepage is exactly what you've done for Senin. So we have had 3 successful grant funding applications for our downtime allocation tool, our multi-site capability, and to create a version of Senin for constructing a wind farm, because of course we've come from an operations source to begin with. But it's not just the funding, there's also ongoing support, there's regular check-ins, and there's also a lot of soft benefits in terms of networking. You go to the OWGP stand at events, or you meet OWG people and they drag you across the room and they put you in front of other good people in industry. And that really helps. The other thing that it does is because there are industry people involved in various boards, while we would not expect and do not get preferential treatment, people at least know who we are when we come to meet them in their day jobs. And that is another benefit as well. So it really has been instrumental to the success. And I'll explain just for a couple of minutes now of those 3 projects. So if we just whiz on, Claire. So the downtime allocation, we were able to spend time to develop what I think is the most technical Senin module, which effectively solves the challenge of allocating lost production at scale. To put it really simply, we can now batch edit with a drag and drop editor as many turbines as you want, change the fault codes, update it, change the timings, and push it back up to the cloud. I don't really understand how useful that is, but I know the people who use it say it's amazing. So that is something that's had massive impact. and it has been showcased to EDFR. They've taken it onto their offshore portfolio. They've since decided to roll it out to 5,000 turbines onshore, which is, again, has been more revenue for us, which has given us the ability to go away and develop this now for solar, and that's something that's in our roadmap for next year. None of it would have been possible. So that's project one. Project two, multi-site. Offshore wind, operators are not running one site, they're running a fleet, and the software has to match that. So we were on a single site, we had some smart stuff, but we didn't have the capability or even the thinking to be able to build it out to run on multiple instances. With OWGP funding, we were able to spend the time to develop that. If you have one bit of software across several sites, clearly there's massive data and OpEx benefits, and they can start to aggregate at a high level and see what's performing and what isn't. We took this back out to market. EDF said, brilliant, we'll have that. So we are now running Senin multi-site so they can compare and contrast across their fleet. And you can see a lovely quote there from one of the senior people from EDF. I'm going to go quick because I'm conscious of time. Third one is Senin for construction. So as I mentioned earlier, we are an operations tool for the O&M phase. We looked at the construction part of offshore wind, and there's quite a lot of very more elderly tools in the market, shall we say, that perhaps been brought in from other industries. We thought that we could replicate the success that we've done in ops and construction. We hired someone specifically in to help with this, Mike Young, and we've gone away, developed the tool. We had the runway to research properly what was happening. We've taken that out to market, and someone very, very important has decided to buy it, and they are going to take that onto their sites, and that's what we're announcing in a few days' time in London, but I'm not allowed to talk about it today. But it is signed and sealed, thanks to OWGP. So there you go. It's all worked really well. That quote on the left there is actually massively out of date. We've more than hired by a third. We've more than doubled the turnover, and we wouldn't have been able to do any of it without the help of OWGP. So that's how much it's helped us. Thanks very much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Stuart. I was laughing during that presentation at the thought of you being dragged across the room at conferences. Tamsin's nodding as well, because she's probably been dragged across the room as well. But thank you so much for an excellent presentation, and really encouraging and motivating, I think, to see a UK SME who's really gone from strength to strength and grown their business and doing really exciting things. So really excited to see what's being announced at Global Offshore Wind. So
I'll be dragging you to our bit that day.
Yes, you could drag me around. Excellent. Fantastic. So passing over to Tamsin Armstrong, who is Strategic Improvement Manager at CASC. Lovely company we've worked with, based in Northern Ireland, doing really exciting things on the sort of turbine pre-assembly and bit fabrication as well. So this is a different type of supported project that OWGP has funded compared to Senin. That gives an idea of the different things that we do. CASC doing fantastic things. So yeah, passing over to Tamsin. Thanks very much.
And thank you for the invitation to come and tell our story. We're really excited, and we're so glad that we've got a positive story to be able to talk about. OWGP support has been hugely beneficial to our business, so we're excited to talk about it. And I'm only going to talk for a little while, and then we have a little case study video that I'm going to show you as well, that sort of tells the story from the team rather than just listening to me as well. So just the same as what Stuart's done, same kind of format, just a little bit about CASC. So as Claire said, we're based in Northern Ireland. We are currently working in offshore wind. Ironically, we don't actually go offshore, which for people like me that get seasick, that's a huge bonus at the minute. And at the minute, we don't actually put our hands on turbines, but that is the next stage of growth for us to get involved in the turbines. So what we do is we are pre-assembly contractors, and we mobilise the portside activities for the turbines before they go out to the offshore wind farms. And we've worked on projects across the globe, right across from Taiwan, and now the other side of the globe. Now the guys are actually in the US on NEP just at the moment, and everywhere in between as well. And with the market opportunities arising all the time, I think that there's nowhere that's off limits in terms of where we could go next. So just a little bit about what we actually do on site. Claire, if you could switch on, thank you. So what we do is we are the first contractors on the portside site. So when the turbines are about to be dispatched out to sea, we come and we prepare the site for the turbines to be assembled and fitted out. And from that, then they're lifted out onto the vessels and brought out to the offshore site. So really what we do there, and the picture kind of shows the guys on site there, is we build these frames, these huge frames. The turbines come in 3 parts, and we build them, the frames, and the turbines go up on top of them. We build access platforms, walkways. We design and manufacture some components as well for the projects, and we do a full electrical install for the site as well. And we do power containers, which we ship all across the world, and that powers the site. It's a full site mobilisation, as it says there, and it can include things we've done before, including the mobilisation out to the offshore site with sea fastenings and frames and things like that. So nothing's off limits, and I think probably that's Cask's USP, is we never say no to anything. We say yes, and then we work out how we're going to do it. So that has put us in a very unique position in the industry, because for such actually a huge business, and probably, I don't know, Stuart, whether you'd agree, and I'm sure you'll agree, Claire, it's actually quite small at the minute. It is growing and expanding, but certainly for the last few years, it has been, you know, same faces and same kind of companies that you've kept meeting. So that's been good in one way, but now, you know, things are starting to ramp up, and obviously competition is emerging into the market, which is great. So obviously we have to have a USP that sets us apart from our competitors. And Claire, if you could switch on, please. To date, obviously, our record has been exemplary. So we pride ourselves on delivering our projects on time and the project specification. And the key factor in that is that we identify and fix problems. So we can go to our client and we can say, you know, we've come across a problem on site, but here's how we're going to fix it for you. And they love that. So we've got that strong relationship with the clients, and that is evident because, you know, they come back to us and offer us work, which is a nice position to be in. So really, to be able to facilitate that, we've had to develop our own in-house engineering department. So that means when the guys are on site and they identify a plate is missing, or something is the wrong size, or they need something, you know, to help get the frames in, the deadlines are massive. The vessels are scheduled to come, and I think they're, you know, cost like £200,000 a day. So we can't be late. So if there's a problem with a part, we need to fix it. And before 2018, we relied on subcontractors, but as we all know, if you're not in control of it, problems can happen. So we decided to do it ourselves, and we developed our own in-house engineering department. We have some machines, and the video will sort of talk a little bit more about the machines. And really what that helped us do is to be able to start to react and resolve those issues. And what we've done there is continue to invest strategically in that capital equipment. I'm sure you can imagine that the components that we work with are on a huge scale. So the technology that we have in-house needs to be able to, you know, manufacture components to the specifications and the sizes required. So we have great experience. We've worked all across the globe, as we've said. So we know very well now what we do. So we've developed the engineering department alongside the problems that we've encountered, real life problems on site, and now are able to fix it. But it does require continuous investment. So a little bit, Claire, I think the next slide is just, you know, our certification. So we are, you know, we operate a fully integrated management system for the ISO 9001, 14001, 45001, 1090 and 34. So a little bit then about OWGP, and as Claire has said, this is a slightly different project than Stuart. So this has been a capital equipment project. And it has been that continued strategic investment into our machinery and our engineering workshop. So being able to react is one thing, but obviously, as I've said, the scale of the components means that you need to be bigger and better. What we also identified was that there was opportunities to diversify. It was currently labour services really we provided, and then some design, manufacture and installation of components. But there were opportunities as well to provide our own product for use on site. So what we decided then was to invest £2 million in capital equipment into our engineering workshop that would enable us to really enhance our capacity and capabilities in terms of what we could actually design and manufacture here in Lisburn, just outside Belfast. So Claire, if you go to the next slide. So we became aware of OWGP purely by accident. I actually started with CASC on the 16th of November. And I think on my second day, I came across, just Googling offshore wind, and OWGP popped up, and I got in touch with Claire, and it just coincided with the launch of their development grant program. And you know, again, I've stolen a bit of a quote from the website, Stuart, a bit like you, and enabling that step change in the company's growth. And that's really where we were at that stage. So what we did, we completed the stage 1 application with some key details. So around the capital equipment that we were looking to buy, and a little bit of detail then about what we hope to achieve and what we could then design and manufacture here. We were delighted then to be able to submit the stage 2 application, and that was submitted in February 2021. And then in March, we received notification that we've been awarded the full £500,000 that we'd requested towards that purchase. And really what that has done is allowed us now to really enhance our position as a trusted supplier in the offshore wind industry. We're very keen to say yes. Now we can say yes to more things, which is great. The next slide, Claire, please, is just the pictures, just to show you of the 2 machines that we actually bought as a direct result of this project and as of the funding with OWGP. So it's the latest cutting technology with the industry-leading manufacturers, which are Trump, and it's a true laser Tube 7000 for cutting box section up to 9 meters, and a second production laser with automatic lifting and loading, which really has helped us increase our efficiency. We did a project before we got the machines from OWGP, and we had to cut everything by hand for the project. We did the same project again, a repeat order, and it cut the cutting time by over 80% and enhanced the quality hugely as well. So it became very evident very quickly about how useful the technology was going to be for us. Just a note as well that obviously that did mark a step change for us. So it was important for us to make sure that we were making the right strategic decisions. So we participated in the WEST program as well, and we find that really useful to use the skills and knowledge of those external consultants to help steer our growth, to make sure now that we've got the capabilities and we've got the capacity, are we targeting it, that now to the right customers to keep up that continued growth. Karen, maybe just play the video now and let the team tell you a little bit more about it than me. Thank you.
CASC was established in 2014. Since then, we've been responsible for mobilising some of the world's largest offshore wind projects. In 2018, we set up our own engineering division. And last year, we invested £2 million in technology, which now means that we can meet demands of the industry. And coupling that with our recently acquired electrical division, we are now fully equipped with any scope of work that we are required to work on in renewables, and particularly offshore wind. So we first became aware of OWGP in late 2020 when they launched their development grant initiative. So in the first call, we submitted an application which was towards the investment in technology within our engineering workshop. And we were absolutely delighted to be awarded £500,000 in March 2021 towards the purchase of 2 new machines which have enhanced our capacity and capabilities in terms of the manufacture of products and components.
With the suite of technology we have, with the fibre lasers, the tube laser and the 5-axis water jet, we're the only company within the island of Ireland that have all technologies under the one roof. We tick a lot of boxes for a lot of customers out there, and we can process very heavy plate. And with the 5-axis water jet, we can also do countersinking and bevel cut and weld prep and stuff like that there. And it's very, very suitable for the heavy industry and the likes of the renewable sector and offshore wind. There's basically not much we couldn't make for that industry.
Instead of having to design and manufacture a new set of stairs to a set of project requirements, the same set of stairs can be reused then on multiple projects, no matter where they are, no matter what those nuances are.
We saved 6 hours on the assembly alone And I think our customers are going to be very pleased with the end product because it's a sturdier job and it's more modular as well, so it's better stacked for site use.
The WEST programme has been invaluable within that market research to really scope out that market and really help steer us. We have the ambition, it's now about the delivery of it, and without the support from OWGP, it would have been more difficult, shall we say.
We travel all over the world. We've had projects in Taiwan, Amsterdam, Esbjerg, Germany, so we get about a lot. We've came a long way in a short period of time, and I'm looking forward to the future to see how far we grow and what other work we actually do.
With the opportunity presented in the renewables industry, we are ideally placed to go forward and to grow and develop, and we're really excited to get started.
Thank you, Claire. So just the last slide.
But we're going to watch the video again.
Oh, no more of me, thanks. So yeah, I mean, the video says it all. We couldn't have done it without the support from OWGP, and it really has led to a step change in our company's growth. A bit like Stuart, we have an announcement to make very shortly about a key contract that we've won, a huge new project for us, which is new jobs, new technology, new processes, new investment. Really, really exciting stuff for us, and it is generally all down to the support that we got from OWGP. We couldn't have done it without them. And just to reiterate, you know, what Stuart said as well, the support that we've received from the team has been exemplary throughout. We find them very easy to work with. We find the process very simple. Any questions were answered. It was short time frames, which was great. You're not stopping projects, you know, waiting to get answers and things. So very, very highly recommend, and thank you to Claire and the team for all their support. And we look forward to continuing to work with them, hopefully in the future. Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tamsin. That's excellent. I think we have like 1 minute for questions now. Some questions have come through on the chat, so if people could bear with me like just an extra couple of minutes, I'm happy to rattle through them. And please, if there's any questions for Tamsin or Stuart, please put these in the chat as well. So we've got a question about OWGP grant, does this include receipt of WEST support? Another question about Fit for Offshore Renewables support. So no, I think the preface to that question is around if you're already in receipt of OWGP business transformation support, will this preclude you from bidding in to the competition? And it would not. So you would still be eligible to bid into the funding competition, even if you're working on one of the business transformation programs. There's a question around near to market technology development and scaling up. Would the project be eligible? And I'm happy to take this particular question offline. But in essence, what we're really, when I say near to market or ready for commercialization, what we're really looking for is projects that are going to be able to generate impact across the jobs, exports, turnover, and IP metrics that I mentioned before 2030. So OWGP is a programme that's been set up to create growth by 2030, just because of the way that the sector deal commitments and everything had been established, which is why OWGP was formed. So if you have a project proposal to develop some technology and you're confident that it's going to generate growth in your business over the next, in the short term between now and 2030, then yes, it would be eligible. If it's going to take a project that's going to take years and years to develop a bit of kit or develop a platform or develop something that's actually not going to be brought to market until many, many years down the line, it's probably not something that would be eligible for this particular competition. So hopefully that's clear, but if not, please do contact me afterwards. Slides and recording will be made available after the webinar to all of the attendees. There's a question around that.
In terms of financial summary, how do you show detailed financials without exposing IP? It should be quite clear in the breakdown, in the cost breakdown, what you're asked to provide in terms of project breakdown, the level of detail you need to provide around finances. We're not, we don't want you to have to put in any information that's confidential or sensitive, and we would manage that anyway internally. But yeah, happy to, again, for the person asked the question to follow up directly with me if anything is unclear. So on the eligibility side, around already being an existing grant recipient, if you have received funding from the December 2021 competition, then you would be eligible to apply for this round. However, I would caution that to say you need to be demonstrating impact as a result of that current funding before bidding in for more, if that makes sense. So the project needs to be, showing that it's progressing and milestones being achieved and deliverables being achieved, and evidence that that is happening. So, but yes, in theory, yes, you'd be eligible to apply. I'm really conscious of time, and I don't want to keep anyone in much longer. So what I'll do is, for any questions that I haven't answered, apologies about this, I will put them in a document, and I will make an FAQ spreadsheet and send that out along with the webinar recording and the slides. And if there is anything, as I mentioned before, please just get in touch with me directly. All my contact details and for myself and the team will be available. Hopefully, Tamsin and Stuart, if I can include your slides in that as well. And if anybody has questions for you guys, I guess to reach out directly and to come and see all of us at Global Offshore Wind. I think we'll be there in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, I think with that, I'll bring the session to a close. Sorry, it was a little bit rushed at the end there. But thank you everyone for attending and getting to the end with us. Thank you again to Stuart and Tamsin for taking the time to present there on their companies and their experience with OWGP. It's just been an absolute joy to work with both of you. So, so thank you for that, and look forward to some really good applications coming in for the competition. So thank you everyone, and have a great afternoon.
Thanks.